Hey there, fellow educators, and honestly, anyone who's ever wondered what would happen if we actually listened to teachers for once. I'm Leah Cleary, and this is If Teachers Ruled the World. You know, after 25 years in the classroom, I've learned that teaching isn't really about having all the answers. It's about being brave enough to ask the right questions, and maybe, just maybe, admitting when we have no idea what we're doing, which, let's be honest, happens more often than we'd like to admit. So grab your coffee, or whatever, and let's talk about the real stuff, the messy, imperfect, sometimes beautiful reality of what it's like to shape young minds while trying to keep our own sanity intact. Because if we're going to change the world, we might as well be honest about what that actually looks like. All right, let's dive in. Hey, have you gotten word from your county that you're going to have a delayed paycheck in December? Or maybe your colleague got a pink slip back in March. ESSER funding may be the reason why, and today we're going to translate what this policy mess actually means for those of us in the classroom, plus a twist that happened just this summer. ESSER stands for Elementary and Secondary School Relief Funding. It came in 3 waves totaling nearly $190 billion. Yeah, you heard me right, $190 billion. Between March of 2020 and March of 2021. The biggest chunk, ESSER 3, was $121.97 billion. Think of it as the federal government's attempt to help schools deal with COVID-19's impact. And for those of us in the classroom at that time, we know the impact was huge, and we are still reeling from it. Here's what matters to you as a teacher. Nearly 50% of ESSER 3 funds went directly to labor costs, hiring teachers, counselors, administrative staff, reading specialists, and providing salary increases. That means your salary, your colleague's job, that new reading coach, a lot of it was funded by money that was always going to disappear. It's a little troubling that a lot of these positions that were created to be permanent were built on temporary funding. There's always a piper to pay, my friends, and here we are. Districts had until September 30th, 2024 to commit the money and January 28th, 2025 to actually spend it. Many got extensions until March of 2026. But here's where it gets messy, and I mean very, very messy. On March 28th, 2025, the Trump administration suddenly rescinded previously approved spending extensions. Secretary of Education Linda McMahon said that extending these deadlines, and I'm quoting her, years after the COVID pandemic ended is not consistent with the department's priorities. Now, here's the thing you need to understand about how this money actually works. Districts don't just get a check from the federal government. They spend their own money first on salaries, on programs, on all the things they planned, and then they ask for their reimbursement. It's like if you paid for supplies out of pocket expecting your principal to reimburse you, and then 3 months later she said, never mind. I know we said we were going to do that, but we're not. States that had already spent this money were suddenly in crisis mode. Maryland had up to $418 million in jeopardy, $305 million already spent but not reimbursed. According to Education Week, Illinois was waiting on roughly $8 million for things like transportation for homeless children, adaptive technology for students with disabilities, and after-school tutoring. Money they'd already spent, programs already running, and staff already hired. Then in May of 2025, 16 states and Washington, D.C. sued the Education Department. On May 6th, a judge issued a preliminary injunction that prevented the agency from canceling reimbursements for these specific states. So now we had some states getting their money back and others not, which created its own fairness problem. Then on July 26, 2025, came another twist. the Education Department reversed course again, allowing all states that were pre-approved for late liquidation before March 28th to request reimbursements. Secretary McMahon said the pending litigation had, and I'm going to quote again, created basic fairness and uniformity problems among states. So right now in October of 2025, as I'm recording this, districts can get reimbursed for the money they've already spent. But, and this is a big one, McMahon also said all requests will be carefully reviewed to ensure they relate to pandemic recovery efforts, and the final policy will depend on court decisions. The deadline for these extended funds is March 30th, 2026. Your translation? The money is flowing again, for now, but nobody knows if that will still be true next month. While this policy chaos was happening, real people were losing real jobs. According to Education Week, districts have been announcing massive cuts. Buffalo is cutting 250 teachers, aides, psychologists, and assistant principals. Memphis is eliminating 150 education assistants and more than 300 administrators. Vermont's Champlain Valley School District is losing 17 counselors and social workers. According to K-12 Dive, San Diego Unified announced plans to cut over 220 full-time positions, with 127 educators among those laid off, as the district faces $93.7 million budget shortfall this year and expects a $163.7 million shortfall next year. These weren't just about the reimbursement chaos. They're about the bigger picture of ESSER funds running out. Think about what those spring months were like for district finance officers. According to Education Week, the sudden absence of expected federal funds has already cost some educators their jobs. Even though the money is flowing again for now, the uncertainty alone caused damage. Districts had to make decisions, lay people off, delay paychecks, pause programs, not knowing if they'd ever see that reimbursement money. The great irony is that while all of this is happening, we are in the middle of a teacher shortage. That is evident to many of us with overcrowded classrooms this year. According to the Learning Policy Institute, some experts estimate up to 250,000 education jobs could be cut because of the ESSER cliff, with $24 billion of the total funding financing districts' annual labor costs. That is not a good position to be in. This definitely looks different from one state to the next. The Center on Budget and Policy Priorities found that ESSER funding made up to 10.5% of Mississippi's K-12 education spending, but only 1.4% of Maine's. So some states are getting hit much harder than others. So if your paycheck was delayed, your district might have been caught in that March to June limbo, not knowing if they get reimbursed for money they'd already spent. They literally might not have had the cash on hand. If you or a colleague got laid off, and I'm quoting Georgetown University's Marguerite Rosa here, when the ESSER money came, it basically provided a stay of execution. You didn't need to do the shrinking right now, but districts have to do the last 4 years of shrinking all at once instead of doing it gradually, year by year. Some districts used ESSER money to delay inevitable cuts from declining enrollment. Others hired new people with temporary money. Either way, those decisions are catching up to us right now. The reimbursement issue is technically resolved for now, but it's still tied up in court. The Education Department wants to go back to making states reapply for reimbursements. The states don't want that uncertainty, and we're all caught in the middle. According to the Learning Policy Institute, districts most at risk are those that rely heavily on Title I funding, meaning they got large ESSER allocations, are experiencing declining enrollment, and invested pandemic aid in recurring expenses like maintaining staff or boosting teacher salaries. If that sounds like your district, brace yourself. According to K-12 Dive, some experts predict tight budgets will remain into the 25-26 school year, but they may ease up beginning 26-27. So, we've probably got at least another year of this. Here's what you need to understand. Even though the reimbursement crisis got resolved for now, the bigger problem has not gone anywhere. ESSER money was always temporary. Many of the jobs and salary increases from the last few years were funded by money that was always going to run out. The March to June chaos just made everything happen faster and a lot messier than it needed to. Know that your district isn't being dramatic when they talk about budget cuts. They're not making it up. They're trying to figure out how to keep promises they made with money they can't count on anymore. And for a few months there, they couldn't even count on getting back money they'd already spent. This is what happens when federal policy meets classroom reality. And it's why, when someone in Washington makes a decision about education funding, teachers and students are the ones who feel it first. That's it for this week on If Teachers Ruled the World. Be sure to subscribe, share with a teacher friend, and join the conversation at leahcleary.com. Until next time, keep ruling your classroom and rewriting the rules.